Welcome, everyone, to People on Dating. I'm your host, Will Morales. And for those of you who are tuning in for the first time, this podcast is about the ups and downs of dating and how to navigate through it. Today, my guest is Lauren Salaun. Oh, my God.
Yes,
We
it's
just practiced
okay.
like 30
It's
seconds
okay.
ago.
It's all right. Salon like hair salon. See, now they're going to remember it more.
I like that. So let me tell you a little bit about Cheryl. She's a high-achieving, self-aware, growth-oriented woman in her late 20s to early 40s. My God, you still look 25. She's successful in her career, an entrepreneur, executive coach, or creative professional. But feels like her love life hasn't caught up with the rest of her expansion. She has done therapy, read the books, maybe tried some mindset coaching or manifestation work, but she still finds herself attracting emotionally unavailable partners, feeling stuck in masculine energy or control mode, struggling to trust herself, open up, or let herself receive. She craves depth, polarity, and connection. I kind of
Yeah,
butcher your stuff, but
no, that's okay. That's very much the kind of woman that I tend to work with a lot. Exactly that kind of description.
sounds good. Well, Lauren, thank you so much for being on People Dating. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to chat with you.
No, it's my pleasure. So tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you get here to today? What was that journey like? And,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. So, as you all heard from that description of the kind of women that I work with. So I tend to work with a lot of high achieving, successful in terms of career and stuff like that. Women who have it all, right? Or on the outside, it's like they've got all the things, like they're successful, they've got great friends, they're doing all these amazing things, all of that, which a lot of time that's very true too. But a
Mhm.
lot of women also who then are like, yeah, and my relationship doesn't feel right, or I can't seem to
Mm.
attract the kind of men that I want to be with, or whatever it is. And so a lot of the time with women like that, right? It's there can be many things going on, but sometimes it's the product of being in that very masculine energy space for so much of their life. Not necessarily that it's wrong, right? It brings a lot of rewards and creates a lot of amazing results and in someone's life. And as men and women, we all have our own unique balance of masculine and feminine energy within us. But what I find is a lot of women who are that high achieving, go getter, really successful sort of person, right? They tend to sometimes struggle when it comes to relationships and dating. And so why I say that is because that used to be me quite a bit, and not
Mhm.
necessarily struggle, because on the outside, right, or looking in, like I was never hurting for dating opportunities or options or relationships or anything like that. But my how I got here really was to doing what I do now was, yes, been high achieving, what you would call successful on paper, all that kind of stuff my whole life,
Mhm.
whether it's in sports or hobbies, career, you name it. Very confident, all that kind of stuff. And I was married. I ended my marriage in 2020, largely because I found myself very much in the place that a lot of the women I work with, and which is why I do the work that I do, but found
Mhm.
myself in this place of where, I started to do a lot of work on myself, right? I was like, I'm exhausted, right? There's never enough time in the day. I work so hard and like, yeah, I'm making good money, but I want to make more money, but there's not even enough time in the day. And I'm just so exhausted. And I got to this point where I was just like, my soul was tired. That's what it felt like. Like,
Mhm.
no, it just, I was so depleted. And for me, that kicked off a big personal growth journey on working on self-worth, working on like healing perfectionism, overachieving, all this kind of stuff. And working on finding that harmony with my masculine feminine energy, because I had been so stuck in my masculine energy. And
Mhm.
that resulted in me choosing a partner, right? Attracting and being attracted to a partner who was very much in his feminine energy. Now, when I say this sort of thing, that doesn't mean, right? Like that's an internal energetic balance. So saying like,
Mhm.
oh, a man in his feminine energy, that doesn't mean he doesn't look masculine. Just like a woman in her masculine energy doesn't mean she comes off as masculine. Or appears in that way, right? She can
Yeah.
outwardly look very feminine. And so it's just really an internal energetics sort of thing. But as I started to do that inner work on myself to balance those things out, because even though operating that way did bring me a lot of great results, right? Like good pay, accomplishments, recognition, like all these things, right? Because if it wasn't working in some way, you wouldn't keep doing it. It
Yeah.
didn't result in the kind of romantic relationship that ultimately I wanted, right? When I was in that state, that was the right fit, right? And we only know as much as we know at the time. We're always doing the best we can with the tools that we have. And so as I started doing this inner work on myself, I realized, oh gosh, like I'm missing that like strong masculine energetic presence in my relationship. And I chose, and it ended up being a very amicable and respectful split with my ex-husband, and ultimately I think the right thing for both of us, but chose to
Mhm.
end my marriage. And of course, with divorce comes a whole new layer of self-awareness and growth and healing, or at least the opportunity for it, right? Some people might
Right.
go the other direction. But that led me really to get clear on, okay, what kind of life do I want to live? What do I want my life to look like and feel like? What kind of partnership, right? If I'm going to get married again one day, or even just in dating, like what kind of person do I want to be with? And and how do I show up as the best version of myself to create the kind of life that I want? And so I did a lot of work on that masculine feminine energy balance, and a lot of somatic healing and stuff like that, to get to a place where now being in my feminine energy is just so effortless and so natural. And I want to clarify too that this is what's natural for me, right? All of our
Okay.
like balances of what that looks like is going to be unique to each person, but for me, like my most comfortable state is being at default in my feminine energy and being with a man who's very much in his masculine energy. And so that's how I really got to this place with doing this work, because I understand what it's like to think you have every single box checked. And it's ultimately like it's not all about like, oh, finding a man, right? Like that's not the end goal, right? But I
Yeah.
understand what it's like to think you have every single one of those boxes checked, and to be like, but why don't I have the kind of relationship that I really want to have? Like, why is it looking this way? Or what is this pattern? And then being able to do that inner work to shift things so that you can shift your results.
I love what you said about working on yourself, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny because I've gone on when I was dating and all that, and then it would end, and started reflecting. But you know what was, Lauren? For me, it was the last relationship I had, which was about 5 years ago, 5, 6 years ago.
Hmm.
And I say the last because I felt that I wasn't the man I wanted to be. I
Mm,
let my guard down too much for this woman.
mm,
So after the breakup, and it wasn't uh there was no animosity, but it was a
mhm,
quiet breakup where we just went our separate ways without any contact. But I
mhm.
realized I had to work on myself. I had to read books. I had to, look at
Yeah.
podcasts and all that to get to work to be better for myself. I realized that I let too many boundaries get crossed, and
Yeah.
especially financial boundaries. There was more financial boundaries than
Mm,
personal boundaries. So I love what you said, that you worked on yourself. You had that inner work. I had to do the same thing, and I'm in my 60s now. So this was like in my 50s.
yeah.
So it's never too late, whether you're in your 20s to your 60s, right? And you know this, Lauren.
Yeah.
You
It's
it's work in progress every damn
exactly.
day.
Exactly. You're
Yeah, go ahead.
never, yeah. No, I was going to say you're never too late to work on yourself, though I think many people feel that, oh, once I'm past this age, like what's the point, sort of thing. Yeah, it might get harder. Certain things might get harder, but
Yeah,
never too late to work on yourself. And like you're never done, right? There are certain things when it comes to growth and healing that you might cross off the list and never really have to deal with it again, right? You like
right.
kind of quote unquote solve the problem. And you're like, oh, I never struggle with that anymore. But there might be things that are kind of like gonna be with you for a long time that you have to continue to work on, right? Or they're gonna just show up in new ways and different ways. And a lot of that, the stuff that I talked about, that's what would happen with me. I'd be like, I'm dealing with this again, but now it looks like this, right? Until I really got to like the root of the issue. And I would say with you too, right? It's really important for us to be able to be self-aware in that way and to reflect and be like, wait a second, maybe there's something I need to do, right? Maybe not everyone else is the problem. And something I would say is if you notice a pattern in your relationships or your
Yeah,
dating life and it happens more than twice, that's something for like two times. Okay, might be random, might be a coincidence. More than twice,
Yeah.
that's kind of a you thing, right? That's
Yeah.
it's a you thing.
And you know, Laura, and that was hard to accept. And I remember
Yes.
having friends tell me certain things about me, and I'm like, nah, nah, nah. You know, and it was more than two or three people that would tell me these things. I'm too nice. I'm this. I'm that. So once that breakup happened in 2020, 20 early 2020, I realized, okay, you know what? It's definitely me. It's
Yeah.
I gotta like sit down, you know, write things out, and not like a journal, but I would do bullet points. That's how I do my
Mhm.
journal.
Yeah.
And I started
Same.
writing, you know, started writing things, and then to me, it was easier to read the bullet points than just write, you know,
Yeah.
10 paragraphs. But
That's how I like to journal too. Bullet.
yeah,
Real
right.
quick.
To me, it works perfect. Anyway, I don't want to go on because I want to talk about today's topic. It's about uh unemotional. Is it what was the topic?
Like emotionally unavailable people.
But
Yeah.
yes. So what does that mean? What does that entail? So because I hear that
Yeah.
a lot, and I kind of know what it means, but if you could explain to my audience, maybe more of a clinical way than I would.
Yeah, I mean, I will clarify too, I'm not necessarily a clinical professional, but
Okay.
being emotionally unavailable, you know, have coaching certifications and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But being emotionally unavailable, that can look a lot of different ways and really just comes down to someone is unavailable in some kind of emotional capacity, whether that is they resist showing love, they resist showing any kind of emotion, they
Mhm.
resist being vulnerable, right? So being emotionally unavailable, there's some sort of block between like really forming a real emotional connection with them or for them with others. And
Okay.
so and a lot of people find themselves attracting unemotional people or emotionally unavailable
Emotional.
people,
Yeah, I gotta say
right?
that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a little tongue twister, right? And and I know this is a frustration for I think more so for women. Though
Yeah.
obviously I'm hearing from women more than men, but I don't necessarily hear too much from men that women are emotionally unavailable, though men listening, let me know if I'm wrong in that. But
Well,
yeah,
the
but
woman
from
I was with,
yeah.
I'm so sorry to cut you off.
No,
She was
no.
like that,
Okay.
unavailable. Even her
Interesting.
son, I remember hearing her son say, "Mom, you wasn't there emotionally for me." And I'm sitting a
Mm,
few feet away from, and he's like in his early 20s now. And I'm sitting a few feet away and I'm hearing this and I'm like, oh, I see. Because
mm.
she was an affectionate, I'm an affectionate man,
Yeah.
Lauren. I
Yeah.
love touching. I just love touching a woman's arms and neck,
Yeah.
whatever. That's just me. She was totally opposite. And I always
Okay.
found that as a deal breaker, you
Yeah.
know? So go ahead, please. I just wanted to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I wanted
Yeah,
to talk
so
about that. Yeah.
exactly. It's some there's some block with showing emotions. It can be all emotions or it can be certain emotions. Um but there's some sort of block that's preventing you from like establishing a real like true intimate like deep connection with them and them to you as well. And so that again that can look a lot of different ways, but a lot of people get attract those kind of people. But also, it's important to keep in mind that when you're attracting people like that, that means
Yeah.
that there's part of you that's attracted to that, right? So
Mm,
people can't just sit there and be like, oh, well, I'm just attracting, like as if you're a victim in this, right? So we want to like look at it from a more like self-aware and empowered position and why this happens a lot and it's not just specific to women, right, falling for unavailable or emotionally unavailable men,
right.
but there are many reasons. One, sometimes people like that dopamine cycle of the push pull, like that rush that you get,
Mm,
like, oh, they're not available. I'm going to try and chase after them. And then you get the little reward of attention or affection and that you get that dopamine hit. And then you would like get into that kind of cycle. Like that's one reason people fall into like going for emotionally unavailable people. But another reason is when if you find yourself in a pattern of attracting emotionally unavailable people, it's because a lot of the times you in some way are emotionally unavailable yourself or you don't feel
mm,
worthy of the kind of love that you actually want. So, and when I say that, this kind of stuff is not happening on a conscious level, right? And so many women, many men may find themselves like in this situation, falling for an emotionally unavailable person. And they might say, like, no, like, I'm totally emotionally available. I completely believe that I'm worthy of finding the kind of love that I want. But if you're seeing this happen over and over again, there's a part of you that's either unavailable in some way. Otherwise, you wouldn't be a magnet for other
Mhm.
people who are unavailable, right?
Right, 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 right.
Or there's a part of you that doesn't feel worthy of the kind of love that you want. And so let's say you struggle with commitment on some level, or you have a really hard time being vulnerable, or you think that, oh my gosh, if I get into a relationship, I'm going to lose my freedom. Right. So if there's some sort of fear in there,
Mhm.
or maybe you're afraid of somebody seeing like the real you, right? You only want to be seen as perfect. And so if that's going on, if there's some part of you that's unavailable, right, you're going to attract others who are also unavailable, because on a subconscious level, that keeps you safe, right? If you continue to attract and be attracted to emotionally unavailable people, then you never have to face that uncomfortable part of you that is also unavailable in some way, right? You get to stay in that like comfort zone, if you will. And
Yeah.
so again, with this, like consciously, you may very much want to be with somebody who is like very emotionally available. But if you find this becoming a pattern, right, that you keep finding yourself with emotionally unavailable people, then there's something going on with you that's a magnet for that. And there's some part of you that's attracted to the unavailability. And similarly, right, I mentioned the self-worth stuff. If there's a part of you that struggles with self-worth, and I used to feel this way all the time, like I used to really struggle with self-worth. If there's a piece of you or a core belief that, and again, it doesn't have to be a conscious belief. This can be a limiting subconscious belief, like in the background, operating in the ego and all that kind of stuff, that thinks that you're not worthy of like true, sustainable, healthy, like intimate love, passion, all of that. If there's a belief that you have that you're not worthy of that, you're going to find relationships that prove that to be true, because the brain
Wow.
wants to be right. Right. And
Yeah.
so,
So you're
so
attracting
yeah, so you might
like
attract.
attracts. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Exactly. No, no, no. That's fine. So you might attract people that are emotionally unavailable, because in that part of your brain that still holds that belief, it goes, see, we're right. So, okay, well,
Mhm.
let's keep this belief because we're right. See, that person was not available. So that must mean I'm not worthy of having the love that I want, because they just showed me they're not available for what I want. So there they go, right? Proving it right. And so that belief continues to get reaffirmed by those actions. And the subconscious mind is wild and is fascinating. It drives so much of our behaviors. And that's a lot
Yeah.
of the work that I do with people, is like, okay, let's get rid of some of these beliefs that are blocking you. Right. But yeah, if you don't feel that you're lovable or worthy of love, or whatever it is, you'll attract people that are going to prove to you that that's true on some level too.
So how do we get out of that cycle? Again, like for
Yeah.
me, it took a few friends to tell me to basically kick my ass and say, this is what you doing, this is what you are. And then when that breakup happened, I remember walking and I said, okay, this is what I'm doing wrong. And again, I told you I
Yeah.
journal it. But how do people become self-aware? Do they get
Yeah.
stubborn? Because you coaching, you got clients that you coach and you talk to. Now they're stubborn. They're like, no, 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 it's always them. No, 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 it's not me, it's them. So can you talk more about that?
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
how do we become self-aware?
Absolutely. I think, I mean, just like you were saying, right? Sometimes it takes friends and people like multiple times telling you kind of the same thing. And then you've been like, oh, shoot, maybe I should listen to them. Right. So sometimes that's
Yeah.
it. So I would say, like, asking for feedback from people whose perspectives you value and you respect, like, ask for feedback. Be like, hey, like, give me the honest truth. Like, how do you think I show up in dating or relationships? And it doesn't have to be someone you've dated, right? But like your friends, and see what feedback they have. Like, and of
Mhm.
course, like, hopefully they are saying it to you in a loving way, right?
Yeah.
But getting that self-awareness just as the start, and then like do an audit sometimes, like get out your notebook, do an audit of your relationships and take some notes and see if you are noticing any patterns, right? If you're like, oh my gosh, all the people, or I've dated like, 7 narcissists in the last few years and stuff like that. And I know people throw that term around so
Oh my
much,
God, yeah.
but if you notice a pattern of dating someone that you would think is a narcissist, if that's happening several times, there's something going on. You're the problem, right? Like, yes, they might be the problem too, but you're the cause of what is coming into your life, right? And so that's something like looking at the patterns looking at the actual results. Like, okay, what are the results that I'm experiencing in my life? And do I like this? Right.
Right.
And if it's a pattern, if it's happening more than twice, then that's something that, and this is good news, like that's something that you can shift and change. Right. And so sometimes when it is, when people do have a hard time with this, because it's frustrating, right? It can be really frustrating to be like, oh my God, like I'm smart, I'm successful, I'm kind, I'm generous, I'm loving, I'm like all these amazing things. And then to be like, there's no way that I'm part of the problem, right? And I'm not meaning that to say like, you're a
Yeah.
bad person or anything, but I hope that it's empowering to be like, oh, I have so much more control than I thought over what I'm both attracting into and allowing into my life. So that means you can change it, right? So that you can get different results. And so a lot of the time for me, like having that aha moment, because I similarly thought I was so emotionally available. I'm like, I'm incredibly emotionally intelligent. I have
Mm.
great friendships. I have like all these things, right? I'm like, what's the problem? You know? And one of my coaches, right? I work with coaches all the time. One of my coaches was like, and this comes from a lot of questions and conversation, right? So that's something I do with clients is I'm
Right.
asking a lot of questions, right? And I remember one of my coaches being like, there it is. She was like, you talk about how good you are at dating and how much you love dating and how it's so easy for you and you have so much fun with it. And she was like, I think you maybe like dating a little too much and you don't want to give that up. And I was like, what? And then as we dug into it more, it came down to like a fear on my part that I would lose freedom, right? If I get into a
Mm.
committed, serious relationship, I would lose freedom. And it's not like I'm pretty conservative with my dating habits and relationship habits and stuff like
Sure.
that. But there was some fear that I would have to like, I couldn't be fully me, right? Okay, if I choose one person for the rest of my life, and this is post marriage, right? Then
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to be fully 100% myself. Is it possible to find one person that I am going to feel safe and comfortable being fully myself with, right? So there was this feeling like I would be kind of caged in. And so once we kind of named what that fear was, I could imagine a reality where that's not true, right? I'm like, no, there
Right.
has to be a reality where I can have that. There has to be, right? And so that's not as simple as it would be, right? These are
Sure.
often like hours, can be hours long sessions, but figuring out, okay, what is that belief and what is the fear and how now do we rewire it, right? Can we find evidence that this is true, like that belief is wrong so that we can train the brain to think differently. And another thing too, because a lot of the times these beliefs happen and get ingrained in us from a really early age, right? So it's also then
Uh,
like, we go back in time to like childhood or parent relationships and stuff like that and be like, okay, well, where did you learn this? Well, my mom and dad, da, 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 da. Then it's like, okay, well, that's their experience. Does that have to be yours? No.
right. It's a little change that we can make
Yeah.
inside or in our mind, more in our mind, right? Just
Yeah.
to have that mind shift. I mean, first of all, Lauren, my God, I could probably talk to you for another hour and a
I
half.
know.
This
I
is so
know.
so fascinating. And I know we're short on time, but before I let you go, anything else you want to talk about? Anything else you want to promote? Because this topic is really. I've been hearing so much about emotionally unavailable people, and
Yeah.
it's just out there. And again, I got to have you back so we could do it pretty
Yeah,
much a part
absolutely.
two. So talk more about yourself, your practice, whatever you want to
Yeah,
talk about. Please promote
absolutely.
yourself because
Thank you.
you're helping. I think you're helping out a lot of people that need
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. Yeah, I would say with this kind of stuff and the emotional unavailability, like I said, if you're noticing that it's a pattern, and if you're honestly just getting fed up with the results in your life, right? It doesn't have to be a pattern of like 5 people, 10 relationships, right? You can be like,
Yeah.
hey, I've had 2 funky ones. I don't want more, right? If you're noticing that, again, I want to like speak so much encouragement to you because you have so much more control over what comes into your life than you realize. A lot of people think, especially with relationships, it's just like, oh, well, whatever comes my way. No, like there's so much you can do from like an internal standpoint to like how you show up in the world, all of that to just like shift the results in your life to look more like how you want. So I would say
Yeah.
with that, like if you want to schedule a call with me, you can go on my website, laurensalaun.com. I've got coaching calls available there. But I also, and this is a really great one. It's made for the ladies. I mean, men, if you want to get it too, you can to know all the
Yeah.
secrets. But it's made for the ladies. I have a texting guide. It's on my website. It's called
Wow.
Text Like a Queen, and it's got nearly 100 different texts that will help you communicate. And it's not just, I mean, you can say these things out loud too, but they're designed for texting, like, in the
Sure.
early stages of dating, but not even just in the early stages. I have so many women who are married who have gotten my texting guide and use it with their partners, right? But it's
Yeah.
designed to help you communicate in your feminine energy so that you activate a man's masculine energy. And like
No, I
it's
love that.
it's I love that guide so much. It's like such a big hit with people. So that I definitely recommend checking that out.
Yeah, I'll definitely put it on the show notes. And if somebody want to get in
Absolutely.
contact with you, just give us the website or Instagram,
Yeah,
wherever you
yeah, yeah,
want.
yeah. Absolutely. So website is laurensalaun.com. That's LAURENSALAUN.com. And you can also find me on Instagram and TikTok at Lauren Salaun as well.
Yeah, I'll definitely put that in the show notes. Well, Lauren, first of all, again,
Amazing.
thank you so much for being on People on Dating. I
Absolutely.
really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I had a really great time.
Me too. Bye bye.